Honestly, this is so good. Hey, and welcome to my channel. I am Morticia Stewart, and today we are going to be making a vegan banh mi. Check this out. So the first thing we're going to do is make our buns. So this is 1.5 cups of water, a teaspoon of sugar, 3 teaspoons of yeast, and then I have a KitchenAid mixer, so I just slowly added in a couple cups of flour and kneaded it in between. At one point, I did end up adding a little bit of olive oil, but it's not necessary if you don't want to add oil into this recipe. But I just added about a tablespoon, maybe even a little bit less than that. So KitchenAid mixers make it really easy. I just slowly added in flour until my dough kind of looked like this. Then I cover it and I set it to the side so that it can rise. On to pâté, I had some oyster mushrooms in a cold pan, turned the pan on, and then we added in a little bit of onion. We got me chopping onion. This is our little voiceover moment here. So what you could really use any mushroom at all. I just happen to have oyster mushrooms, and that's why I threw them in. But I bet you shiitake would be even better. Button mushrooms would be fine. White mushrooms, you name it. Whatever you got laying around is not a problem. Just make sure that you're adding in the other things that I add in this recipe. So we've got our onion right now going into the pan. And then we add in some soy sauce, about a tablespoon. Then we're going to add in a little bit of garlic powder or a lot of garlic powder. After that, we add in some smoked paprika. And now we're just going to add in a tiny bit of poultry seasoning, mix that up fairly well. You want to make sure that all of those flavors are combined in. We're just mixing and mixing. You'll see that things start to go down a little bit. Then we've added in nutritional yeast and a powdered Worcestershire sauce. Yes, it is vegan. Very cool find on Amazon, shelf stable and all. Then we're going to push everything to the side and add in about a handful of walnuts. That's going to kind of give us that like meaty, sort of fatty texture that we're not going to get from just mushrooms. Just put that in and then mix that all together with the rest of your ingredients that are already in the pan. Once that is nice and cooked down, then we're going to throw that into a food processor. We're going to blend that up, make sure it's nice and blended, kind of smooth. I had a hard time getting it smooth, so I did end up adding a little bit of oil because at this point we have no oil in this mixture at all, but it's important to kind of add in that mouthfeel, and also it helped make it a little bit easier to mush. I'm just putting our pâté in a little container so all of those flavors can get to know each other, but it should look something like this. Now, the next step is pickled vegetables. The reason I'm doing this recipe is because I have a bunch of odds and ends of veggies that are going to go bad soon. So if they look a little worse for wear, that's why. But this is a no waste house, or as much as possible, so we're going to use these up. See, our daikon radish has seen better days. We've got a little end of a carrot and an open end of a cucumber. So the first thing I'm going to do is just peel our daikon. Like I said, our daikon radish has definitely seen better days, so it's not the easiest to peel, but we'll get there. So we're just going to cut it in these kind of thick matchstick shapes. Here's our daikon radish. I actually had just pickled some jalapenos not long ago and I ran out, but I kept my pickling liquid, so I'm actually just going to toss all my veg right into that. Again, we're going as little waste as possible. This was my pickling liquid. Comment down below if you guys want me to show you how to pickle things. It's pretty easy, and honestly, it adds shelf life to so many veggies that could potentially go bad. This is also going to make them a little bit spicy since there was jalapenos in here before, and I absolutely love a little bit of spice. Okay, so we've got our daikon in here. Now I'm going to fix up our little carrot end here and add that in. Same thing for our carrot. We are just going to cut it into these kind of like little matchstick shapes. Nothing has to be perfect. I never claimed this was restaurant quality. This is just to be able to eat all the vegan stuff we don't get to eat, so we make it at home, like this banh mi. I'm actually not going to pickle the cucumber, which is funny because that is normally the thing that you would pickle. That's not what we're going to do. So I'm just going to kind of shake this guy around, and I'm going to let him chill out while I do all of the rest of the stuff. You know what? It is time for me to preheat the oven because our dough is rising. What we're going to do is we're going to do the four-fold method. So what that means is you want to take from each side, pull it, and pull it into the center. Pull it into the center, pull it into the center, and pull it and into the center. I don't even know if you guys can see it at this point. My hands are all full of dough, but that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna set them back down, and I'm gonna preheat the oven. So I've just preheated my oven to 400 degrees. Now, just so that we're still prepping, we're getting things done, I'm gonna grab my mandolin and make little thin slices of cucumber. Now, if you are clumsy, which I would categorize myself as such, be extremely careful if you're using a mandolin, or just don't. That is also a good idea if you are somebody who is exceptionally clumsy like myself. But I feel like I'm a seasoned vet when it comes to that. So yeah, so I'm gonna just cut off this end that's a little bit dry and feed it to my little partner over there, Aggie, my dog, because she loves cucumber. All right, so I'm just going to thinly slice this. Time for me to clear up my workspace so we can move on to something else. Now it is time to prep our tofu. So I am using an extra firm tofu for this, and I'm just gonna slice it up, and we're gonna put a marinade together and toss that in a frying pan. So we're just going to chop them, these little pieces, about this thick, a 1/4 inch or so. I don't often press my tofu, almost never. I just kind of find ways around it. I find that a tedious task that I'm simply not willing to do most of the time. So we're not even going to press this. We're just going to cut it, and we're going to toss it in a dry frying pan to let some of that moisture out. And then we're going to coat it with our sauce. So let's get into the sauce. This broth is honestly the holy grail of broths. The Asian supermarket close to my house only has the pork flavor, none of the other flavors, but I'm assuming they're all just as good. So this is a pork flavor broth. It is vegan. It's by Shangi. I guarantee you could find it at an Asian supermarket. You could probably find it online as well. Sauce Stash turned me onto this a long time ago. A heaping teaspoon, maybe a little bit more, a heaping teaspoon of this pork broth. We're gonna go in with a little bit of garlic powder. I've got some vegan hoisin sauce on deck, closer to a 1/4 cup, which is 4 tablespoons, by the way. A little bit of soy sauce. This is premium soy sauce, but that's only because they were out of regular soy sauce. You can go with coconut aminos, regular soy sauce, whatever you want for this. So we've got this. We're gonna add a little bit of water in because we have the broth in there. We don't want this to be too salty, and also it's kind of all gonna get soaked up in the frying pan. Or heated up rather in the frying pan and soaked up by the tofu. So we're gonna add a little bit of water into this. Got the water here. I'm gonna mix this up. Actually, you know what I wanna add? Just a little bit of rice wine vinegar, just so we kind of balance that out. Here's a little tip for you guys. If you're ever making a sauce, any kind of sauce, make sure you're hitting everything that you need to hit. What does that mean? That means you want sweet, you want salty, you want sour, you want bitter, maybe, I don't know. But as long as you can hit kind of all of those notes, the sauce will be good. That works for salad dressing, that works for this kind of sauce, kind of any sauce that you're going to make. Just make sure you're hitting all of those. If you have something salty, something sweet, and something sour, your sauce is going to turn out. Just like a 1/2 teaspoon. You don't want too much. Okay, so it's time to move all of my things around here, move them over so that I can start shaping my dough. All right, so we've got our dough here. She's risen a little bit. We're going to, I think I'm gonna do 4 baguettes for this. And essentially what I'm going to do is just shape them into little logs. I'll show you guys, and we're gonna toss them in the oven. And then we should be ready to cook our tofu and eat our banh mi's. I can't wait. Okay, so I'm going to divide it into two here. And then into two again. And what you want to do is just roll it into a log. Do the same here. Here's our 4 logs, and we're tossing them into the oven right now for 15-20 minutes. Onto our tofu. So we're just going to put our tofu in a hot pan. You'll see it's sort of sizzling here. Essentially, we want, check the flip, boom. It needs to be a little bit yellow, and that is how you know that we've gotten out as much water as possible. So you want your tofu to look like this. I actually had to do 2 batches. You'll see at one point there's more tofu in this pan because I combined it when I add in the marinade. But so we've just, instead of pressing, we have just let it chill out in the pan and it dried it right out. So now we pour in our liquid, and essentially we're kind of braising our tofu at this point with the liquid. But because of the sugar in the hoisin and the soy sauce and all of those kinds of things, and the water that we put in it is going to evaporate as we cook it down, as you'll see here. And eventually we're going to get sort of this like syrupy, saucy sort of thing. But in the meantime, it's braising in this liquid until the liquid reduces. If you see here now, we have far less liquid than we did before. Time to check the bread. Oop, she's coming along. And here we go. Let's put our banh mi together. Honestly, this is so good. I've never had a banh mi before. I haven't eaten meat for like 25 years. So I've never had one. This is so good. Make this for real. Thank you so much for watching. Comment below any other things you want me to veganize. Thank you so much to all of my followers.